Hello, nerds. It is a lean episode today on Generally Nerdy, your week in Nerdom for February 4th, 2019. We honestly, the rumor mill is brim full, but everything else is kind of lean. So we've got Slipknot, we're talking about Incubus and 311, all in music. In TV, we have One Piece on The Lost Boys. In movies, we've got quite a bit, and a couple of them kind of have something to do with Rick Moranis, which is interesting. Gaming, we're talking about Fallout 76, and there's a couple other things going on there. And in comic books, we even have a couple of things. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into the music news, and we're just gonna go head first and all of the things. And again, lean episode. Let's jump into it. First off, we're talking about Incubus and 311 in music. Never, ever did I think that I would be talking about maybe Incubus, but 311 was one that was like, I don't even know if those guys are still making music. Well, apparently they're still playing music. They're still on tour because they just announced that they will be going on tour with Incubus this summer. So 90s stoner rock is making a comeback, apparently. I don't know if that's really fair to Incubus, but that's really what 311's all about. Anyway, so yeah, that's really interesting. In other touring news, we have Slipknot announcing their summer tour, at least the summer leg of their tour, which they'll be supported by Underoath for the whole thing, and then A Day to Remember and Code Orange for most of the dates. There are a select few dates where one of the two of those bands will not be on the bill, but by and large, those are the four bands that you can expect if you're going to see them, and they don't have any tour dates announced that are west of Texas, and it drives me crazy because I'm west of Texas. I love Slipknot. Every time I've seen them, they put on a hell of a show. I really want to see Code Orange live, and I have yet to be able to do that. If they come through with Slipknot, you be damn sure I'm going to be at that show and trying to get an interview with somebody for the channel. So, if they do make it to my neck of the woods, I'm going to be all over that. Anyway, that's what we've got there. Next, we have an update on the Smashing Pumpkins. We talked previously about how they put out, in 2018, they put out that record. It was an EP. It was like 8 songs long or so. That was, what was the name of it? It was called Shiny and Oh So Bright, Volume 1, and then there was a longer subtitle. And so now they're working on more new music, and Billy Corgan has been saying in press that this is going to be different from Shiny and Oh So Bright. This is going to be a little bit more of a recollection to back when they were originally writing in the early 90s, because the Shiny and Oh So Bright was, we're just going to write a couple of songs really quick and then record them so that we can have something out there together. Now they're taking their time and they're actually writing the material the way they used to, and just kind of that old workflow has found its way back to their, I don't know, their laps, I guess. But yeah, so very interesting. It sounds like they are planning on releasing this music. It will be a full double album again. So here's looking at you, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. But they are looking to release it as a double album. There's approximately 21 tracks that they have in the stages of recording. It should be released by the end of this year. So we're not looking at a 2021 release. We're looking at a late 2020 release right now as it stands. So that's really interesting. And then our last piece of music news has to do with a band. I don't know if I've brought them up on the channel before, but it's a new band that I have found, newer band, I guess, that I have found relatively recently, called Lorna Shore. Now, Lorna Shore has gone through some lineup changes, I guess you could say, like most metal bands do. Their most recent one, though, is the loss of their frontman, CJ McCreery, because he's been facing some allegations of some sexual misconduct, quote unquote. I'm not going to get into whether or not those are legitimate allegations, because that's a whole other ball of wax, but he has gone through some really interesting allegations of such things and mental abuse and so on and so forth. So the band decided about a month ago that they were going to part ways with him, in spite of the fact that they had just finished recording a new album called Immortal, which comes out very, very soon. And in that vein of things, they just released a new video for a song that they call King of Deception. And in the video, in spite of the fact that CJ is, again, no longer part of the band, he is the vocalist in the video. I honestly feel like there's a couple of reasons why they went this way. First and foremost, because they filmed it long before they parted ways with CJ. They filmed it with a friend of theirs who they recognize as an artist, and so they wanted to put their friend's art out there in spite of, again, that separation. And also, they don't have a vocalist yet. They have yet to announce who the replacement for CJ is going to be, and I feel like that should be kind of a thing that they do before they go on tour, and they're planning on touring very, very soon, again, because the record comes out very, very soon. So trying to reshoot a video with somebody who doesn't exist is kind of impossible, and also getting a video out once you do find that replacement in time for the tour and to promote there was so many logistical issues. It was like, you know what, we still are friends with CJ. I'm assuming this thing that they're still friends with CJ, and even though they can't have a professional relationship with him, so it was like we're gonna take a gamble. And honestly, from what I've seen in the comment section of that video, it seems like the gamble's paying off. Most of the fans appreciate the fact that, yeah, CJ may or may not have done some really shady things, but the art stands on its own. It does not need the artist behind it because the art is so good. So, I don't know, I kind of fall on that side of things. I super duper appreciate that they had the balls to release it, even in spite of all of the issues that they've been going through. So check that out. Link to the video is down in the description. That is what we have for news. Now we are jumping headfirst into TV streaming, and I say that because we only have one piece in TV streaming, and it is an update on The Lost Boys. We've been covering this since it was announced that the CW is looking for or at The Lost Boys as a new series on the CW. If you remember, they went through a very long pre-production phase, and it kind of was shelved, and then it was happening again, and then it was shelved, and then they shot a pilot, and the CW didn't pick up the pilot, but now the CW is ordering a second pilot. This time, let me refer to the notes a little bit. This time, it will be the same production staff, a new director, and a new completely reworked cast. What exactly that means? Who freaking knows? But it seems that maybe one of the things that the CW wasn't super keen on, and this is a fair amount of conjecture on my part, but it seems that one of the things that CW wasn't super keen on was some of the more political narrative-driven elements that they had changed for this series. And so perhaps that's why they wanted a brand new cast, and perhaps, or maybe just the cast was really bad actors. We won't know until one day when the original pilot leaks, because I have high hopes that that does actually leak, and then theoretically when we see the second pilot, who knows? But that is all we have in TV streaming. Next we have movies. There is a fair amount more in movies, so no worries. But movies, we have our first update is around Little Shop of Horrors. It seems that there has been some official casting desires made known. Offers have been made to the 3 leads in the movie. The first of which being Seymour Krelborn is been offered to Taron Egerton. Audrey has been offered to Scarlett Johansson, which is a very interesting choice. I know Scarlett is musically inclined. She has put out records in the past. Actually, she's put out one of my favorite Tom Waits covers albums ever. It's really, really great. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. So yeah, definitely interesting there. But then we have Billy Porter has been offered the part of the voice for Audrey 2, which is very interesting. He doesn't really strike me as much of a bass like the original Audrey, so maybe they're going a different direction with that voicing. Either way, dig Billy Porter, so you can't really go wrong there. But that's what we've got there. Next, we have an awesome announcement. This is kind of a twofer. An awesome announcement from Christoph Gans, who we've talked about previously as potentially being attached to a Silent Hill movie. He specifically, he is a director, for those that don't know, he specifically was talking to French media outlet Allociné, and he said that he definitely is working on Silent Hill. And he's also working on a movie adaptation of Fatal Frame. I forget what the international name for that video game series was, and I apologize. Google is a thing, though, so you can double check me. That is Fatal Frame is only what it's called in the States. If you're watching this overseas somewhere or even in Canada, I believe it has a different name. I sincerely apologize, I can't remember. But either way, super freaking exciting. We're getting, hopefully, a great Silent Hill movie. The first two were pretty solid. They're not bad, but they're not really great either. There's so much fantastic, fertile storytelling ground in the world of Silent Hill that I can only have high hopes, because there's nothing that says that this could potentially be a train wreck yet. But we're moving on. Next, we are talking about Hamilton. If you have been kinda sorta halfway listening to entertainment news over the last couple of days, then you possibly have heard that Hamilton is coming to a theater near you in 2021. And that seems a little weird, doesn't it? It seems like, well, it was just a big Broadway hit, and there's usually a fair amount of time between being on Broadway and then getting adapted into film. Well, it's not really being adapted into film. It is going to be in a theater. It is going to be on celluloid, or the digital equivalent thereof. So that is not necessarily them being misleading, because that is happening. The kinda sorta misleading part is this is a stage production that was filmed and is being presented as a stage production. It is the original Broadway cast. A camera crew was on stage with them while they were doing the play, and then you get Hamilton on film. So that's what it is. It looks like the official release date is going to be October 15th of 2021, so we still have well over a year before it comes out. And that could theoretically change. I don't think it's going to. Actually, no, it couldn't theoretically change. Very likely, that is exactly what we're going to be seeing. It really depends on how Lin-Manuel Miranda's new musical movie does in theaters, how long expect Hamilton to stay in theaters. Though, because of the success of Hamilton, I would anticipate it will stay in theaters for a fair amount of time, and then very immediately get released onto home video platforms. So, our final piece of news for the movie section in this episode is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So James Gunn recently did an online social media Q&A. And in that Q&A, he said a couple of things, most specifically one thing about how he has had conversations with the upper ups at Marvel to potentially have a Silver Surfer and or a Galactus cameo of some sort in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That would be qualified as a rumor if he had not then followed up after the Q&A and said, you know what, I'm putting this to bed right now, this is not happening. So if you have read or heard from some other news media source that we are going to be seeing Silver Surfer and or Galactus in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, then you know for certain that that is not going to be the case, because James Gunn himself has come out and said, no, I misled you and I apologize. I mean, I'm definitely putting words in his mouth at this point, but it's not happening. The long and the short of it is, it's not happening. We still don't really know exactly what is happening in Guardians 3, but that's for speculation and the rumor mill. Now we're getting into video games, and in gaming, we are talking about Fallout 76 again. Wastelanders officially got its launch date, and that is April 7th. Also, there was an announcement made that this NPC DLC rollout is going to change more than just adding quests and adding NPCs. Now, if you have yet to play Fallout 76, and this is what you are waiting for, then you have a decision to make. Because once the Wastelanders DLC launches, your main quest, the beginning quest that gets you into this world, is going to change because NPCs are going to factor into it. Whereas right now, as you leave the vault, NPCs don't have anything to do with it because there aren't NPCs in the world. So, very interesting. Yeah, I don't know which way to go. I've already played it, so I wouldn't have the luxury of the opening being one way or the other, because I've already seen it without the NPCs. Though apparently you can go back through if you have already done so. If you've already played the game, if you're playing the game currently, you can go back through and replay through those first missions with the new content once the DLC launches. So that's pretty cool. And then our last piece for gaming is a real quick piece about Apex Legends, specifically Apex Legends Mobile. EA has said very recently that yes, it is still on their slate of things to get done with the launch in China impending. That is going to be a big part of their China launch, is the Apex Legends Mobile, which has gone over so well for other Battle Royale games in the past, right? Because who doesn't love playing Fortnite on their cell phone? I don't know if this is a necessary thing, but I do understand the marketing side of it being that, you know, we're launching in China. Mobile is huge in China, so we need a mobile element. I just don't think it's going to do very well anywhere outside of China. That's just me. Next, we're moving over to comic books. Comic books and books, you know, should we have any actual book news? And William Gibson's most recent book already came out. I thought it was coming out later this month, and apparently I was super mistaken, and I'm super bummed about it, and I have to go read it now. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about is, first and foremost, Wolverine. If you are reading the current Hickman X-Men book, then you already know this. But for those of us who are kind of just keeping tabs on things, really interesting happened in book number 5. Laura, aka X-23, is not really going by the moniker of X-23 anymore. She also is going to be going under the code name of Wolverine. So we have Laura and Logan are both going to be Wolverines, which seems a little confusing, but then you think, well, there's been like 2 Spider-Man books with 2 different people as the named Spider-Man, so I mean, it's not that, but it's a little weird, and because Wolverine's always been this one, but then Spider-Man, so that kind of negates all of those arguments, but it's very interesting. Either way, it's very, very interesting. As of book number 5 in the new Jonathan Hickman X-Men series, we are officially in a world with 2 Wolverines, Laura and Logan. Does this mean that we're going to be seeing an all-new Wolverine book again? Probably not. Though we will potentially be seeing some sort of Wolverine book with Laura as the main, even though we're already getting a proper Wolverine book with Logan as the main. So who knows how those are going to play into each other until they launch it, until Marvel decides to make the announcement. So that is the state of things there. And then our last piece of news for the episode before we hit the rumors is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The new comic book, let me refer to the notes real quick. The new comic book, written by Derek Landy and drawn by Federico Vincentini. Yeah, Vincentini, is going to, so the announcement and all of the press around it right now makes it sound like they're stealing a giant plot point from The Incredibles. So if you refer back to The Incredibles, the big villain was a guy named Syndrome. And Syndrome was a kid who wanted to be a superhero but wasn't a superhero. Now, the wasn't a superhero part isn't factoring into this necessarily. The part that I'm talking about is that the new character that they're introducing into Falcon and the Winter Soldier comic book is a Captain America fanboy. So much like whatever Billy or whatever his name was when he was a little kid before he became Syndrome, much like he was a fanboy of Mr. Incredible, this new character, the Natural is going to be a Captain America fanboy and is becoming a vigilante, and so he doesn't realize that what he's doing is bad, and so he's kind of an unwitting anti-hero vigilante person. It just seems, if the comic books are the ground on which they test new ideas for the movies, this idea's already been tested in the movies, just in a different movie. So it doesn't, I don't think this is a great direction to be going, but that's just me. That's what we've got for comic books. And now we have a rumor mill to discuss, and we're going back to Captain Marvel 2. It seems this time there is a rumor about who the villain is going to be, and the nature in which we're going to be introduced to Nova in the MCU. It has long been rumored that Nova will be appearing in the Captain Marvel 2 movie, and instead of it being Richard Rider, we are going to be getting his daughter Beth Rider, seemingly to reference the fact that Richard Rider will be in the movie at some point, but really the Nova that we get will be Beth. And then the main antagonist is going to be Talonar. Talonar. So Talonar, who is Robbie Rider, is our MCU Nova's uncle. It's really a lot of relationships there. Okay, so, and then there's going to be, as we are introduced to Nova, and Nova's kind of the sub-antagonist and then becomes a partner with Captain Marvel throughout the first act of the movie, very likely. Then for the rest of the movie, the rumor goes on to say that not only will Nova team up with Captain Marvel, but there's going to be some sort of romantic thing between Nova and Captain Marvel. So, okay, I guess. But then the rumor goes on to say that Talos, who we know, the Skrull from the last movie and was in the Spider-Man movie and so on and so forth, he is going to earn the ability, or gain the ability. It's not a video game, you're not earning abilities. He's going to gain the ability to mimic powers in this movie, which is a Super Skrull thing, which, if you remember when we talked last episode about Miss Marvel mimicking powers as a Skrull as well, things are looking very interesting. But that's all we have for this rumor. Next one is one that the anime fans across the world, and like 90% of the guys I know that are anime fans, are going to poop themselves when they hear, because it has to do with Dragon Ball. Apparently, Disney somehow owns the rights to Dragon Ball, and they want to recreate their success that they've had with the MCU and do a DBCU, I guess you could say. Dragon Ball Cinematic Universe. So they want to do a live action, according to the rumor, they want to do a live action Dragon Ball Cinematic Universe. So theoretically, starting from Dragon Ball and going all the way through Z and Broly and all of the Dragon Ball eras with live action actors. Not being a big Dragon Ball fan, I can see where the excitement's going to be coming from, but I can't get super hyped for it. That's all we have. That rumor was pretty short. Next, we have one from Mario Kart. This is gaming rumors. We've got two gaming rumors we got to kick out real quick. First up is Mario Kart 9. There has been reports and then other reports canceling out the previous reports. First off, there were reports that said that we're going to be getting the Breath of the Wild 2, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild 2 this year. Well, a new insider report says that Breath of the Wild is not actually going to be happening until 2021, and in its place, because apparently there was at one point a plan to release Breath of the Wild this year, in its place is a series that has tires, was the report from the Insider. Which has led other people to speculate, well, what other major franchise does Nintendo have that has tires besides Mario Kart? And there isn't one. So, very potentially, we will be seeing Mario Kart 9 on the Switch by the end of the year. Probably round about the holiday season, because that makes the most sense. And then this same news report, or the same Insider report, said also, we're going to be seeing a new Paper Mario game by the end of the year. There have been rumors that we've discussed previously, though it was months and months ago, about a Paper Mario being in development. Nintendo still is being hush-hush about the project if it actually is in development, though, again, according to this Insider, it's not only in development, it's almost ready for release. So, I would imagine we'll be hearing a lot from Nintendo at E3 this year. But that's all for video game rumors. I know I kind of snuck that in the middle of things. Next up, we have another rumor, and if you have heard this reported as news, then please, please, please take it with a grain of salt, because Rick Moranis is not officially, but he is rumored to be coming back for the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reboot starring Josh Gad. We've talked a number of times about this reboot, and we've talked also about the potential for Rick Moranis to be coming back for Ghostbusters. Well, Sony was unable to get the great Canadian comedic actor out of retirement for Ghostbusters, and now people are saying, well, maybe Disney can do it with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and bring back Zelensky. I would love to see that happen. I love Rick Moranis. I think he's great and brilliant and awesome. I don't know what kind of water this holds. It seems a little wonky to me. But that's just me, and whatever. That's all we have for that. Next, we're talking Doctor Strange 2. We have a couple of potential leaks. First off, that Mondo is returning officially. I feel like that one's a given. The other one, though, is one that we've talked about before. So this is more rumors supporting a rumor that we talked about previously, stating that in the multiverse, we are going to be seeing other instances in different universes of established MCU characters. So to me, that kind of says something like we saw in DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW, where we're going to be introduced to other universes' versions of characters we already know and love from the MCU, which could be freaking cool, or it could be a giant train wreck. I don't know. It's Disney, so I'm inclined to believe more of the former and less of the latter. But our last rumor has to do with Hawkeye. And it's a couple of rumors wrapped into one. First off, the rumor starts off saying that Hawkeye has not, in fact, been delayed. It is scheduled, or it is on schedule, rather. And not only that, but they are looking to cast now Trickshot and the Tracksuit Mafia. Trickshot being Hawkeye's brother, he is the one for the Dark Avengers. He's the Hawkeye in the Dark Avengers. So again, all signs are pointing to a Dark Avengers movie, very likely in phase 5 or 6, which makes a lot of freaking sense. We talked about this a little bit more in depth in previous episodes. Not going to spend too much time there, but it sounds like the biggest holdout is not Jeremy Renner, but Haley Steinfeld. Jeremy Renner's personal issues are not factoring into the issues that they're having with this show. It seems that they're having issues getting Haley Steinfeld to sign a contract, presumably because she's going to be the one that takes over the moniker of Hawkeye, and then going forward in other movies, so it would be a longer contract than Renner signed. That's presumably why Haley Steinfeld is having the issues with signing the contract. But again, it's all just rumors, and we don't know for certain until somebody makes an official announcement. But that's what we got for the episode, guys. What did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down below. If, though, you want to go deeper in the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net, or the Patreon, patreon.com/generallynerdy, for even more content. And more Nerd Rant videos are going up onto the Patreon, so definitely sign up. It's $2 benchmark is what you got to sign up for to get the Nerd Rant videos. Just $1, you get all of the backlogs and all that jazz. So everything above $2, you get the Nerd Rant videos and in nerdy commentary videos where I comment on the nerd society, nerd culture. So definitely go check that out. Again, patreon.com/generallynerdy. Yeah, I got to do the sign off, guys. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and don't forget to ring the bell so you get the notifications when I do these videos. There are more than just the newest videos here, so you can, I do Comic-Con coverage and photography videos and all kinds of really fun stuff, nerdy things. So subscribe, and you won't regret it, I promise you. But before we go, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.